Peace and pure cosmic blackness that became you melanin that created black people on the planet Earth in the landmass called Africa today, where all human beings descend from. Before we go in, let's read this 9 news that we got present. Okay. It says 9 ether. When we talk about 9 ether, 6 ether, and 3 ether, we're talking about electromagnetic ethereal forces coming from the sun, penetrating the Earth's atmosphere, and working along with the waters on the planet. Okay. So as you see, it says 9 ether is the mental power and chemical forces that grew the universes. Okay, so before you start talking about black people anywhere, you got to talk about how black people were created and grown on this planet. Okay, so let's read that again. 9 ether is the mental power and chemical forces that grew the universes. 9 ether is the combination of all existing gases and chemicals. 9 ether is the original forces of order. Okay, when we're talking about the original forces of order, we're also talking about the smash circle of order, all space, all matter, all time. First, the smash circle of chaos, which is primeval chaos before matter came together. In the form and formula of 9 ether, our Ethiopian ancestors grew the universes and then personified themselves as African pygmies. That is saying that the original forces of nature, existing gases and chemicals that put the universe in order, those gases and chemicals then personified, right, themselves, and then became African pygmies at the source of the Nile in equatorial Africa. Now, if you trace the Nile River going south towards South Africa, you will understand that the Nile River begins in what is called today Lake Victoria, coming out of Uganda. 9 ether began as a spontaneous fire and primeval chaos and grew bodies for itself called true suns or true stars, one of which is the sun of our solar system. Ethiopians are personifications of the suns because our energies grew the suns. Can anybody contest that scientifically? That's what GrandKuwsh is looking for, a real contestant. A real scientific contestant who understands how black people became human on this planet. All right. 9 ether produced the bodies of the suns, and in turn, the suns produce 9 ether. The suns are self-created, meaning self-grown, and are also self-existent. Okay. Nine ether is black, therefore the bodies of the suns are black, jet black. 9 ether is the power of 9 reason, which produces the power of 9 knowledge. There is no other power or force strong enough or wise enough to mentally and physically liberate the Ethiopian from his and her grave of ignorance and prison of serfdom, but 9 ether, the Ethiopian forces in nature. 9 ether is our powers in nature and by nature. What is this saying in layman's terms? Everything that black people have tried to do to mentally and physically liberate themselves from adverse forces or adverse humans who actually hate black people, it has done nothing for us. Christianity hasn't done anything for us. And by this time, Jesus Christ should have already came back. Okay. Islam, right, has not really done anything for us. Judaism has not really done anything for us. The only thing that got black people to really move in America was the revolutionary period of the 60s. Okay. When black people started to get into the Constitution and the laws of America. Okay. Once we started getting into the laws and the Constitution of America, understanding ourselves as original free people, then they locked us down. They killed us, right? They shunned our leaders. You understand what I'm saying? They put trumped up charges on our leaders. Anybody that was close to raising a black messiah, not just one, okay? Because when I think of the black messiah, I think of a group of people, men and women, working together as one revolutionary liberative force. Okay. Now check this out right here, because we did lose something. When we Ethiopians lost our powers to reason soundly, 9 ether is what we lost. When we Ethiopians lost our spirit power, 9 ether is what we lost. 9 ether is the scientific and spirit power of Ethiopians by nature, meaning 9 ether is our true nature. The power 9 ether helps us make Ethiopian history and restores Ethiopian culture. And this means mental liberation, and mental liberation in turn begat physical liberation. The solution to our problems must be one which will work for us worldwide, because our racial problems are worldwide, and that is the truth. Okay. If we had to interrogate the straight-haired mankind races, how many straight-haired people on this planet would say that they do not like black people? Do you understand what I'm saying? And this is worldwide. How many straight-haired people, right, would say that they have no love for black people? The reasonable and practical worldwide solution is mental liberation, which produces Ethiopian creativeness, the ability to create everything we need, and Ethiopian independence, the ability to think independently and act independently of other races. Why do we seem to have a problem with this? Okay. We allow the culture vultures. All right, what is a culture vulture? What is a vulture? A vulture is a bird that eats all the decay, right? Dying things, right? So do we really want to call them culture vulture? Vulture rhymes with culture, but in the sense of what vultures do, okay, we're not giving the straight-haired mankind race dead creativity. In fact, what we're giving is living creativity, but in turn, what they help create is death creativity, right? That when we partake, okay, and even we allow them to get in on our culture, they flip it and bend it to where we're either going to prison, we're having babies before it's necessary, we're not getting along with our women, okay? We highly sexual promiscuous. Drugs are still rampant in the neighborhood. The young brothers out here still killing each other. And for the sake of greed, right, and monetary gain, we continue to push, right? We continue to assist. Now, with this being said, I'm going to read this, and then we're going to go into this video. This video that I have up is from the Black Archives, okay? It's an AI-generated post, and this is where we got to be careful with AI generation, okay? AI generation, in a sense, is not going to come with something new. There's nothing new under the sun, but they're going to come with new data. It's going to come with new data, new information, and a new look to have you perceive that these things are new, okay? AI is not more powerful than nine ether in creativity, meaning that AI cannot be more powerful than what the sun does. We do not understand the power of the sun. We do not understand the powers of the cosmos. Under the auspices of how almighty nature works, we are dealing with duality, life and death. Okay? Life and death. Proceed. All power begins in the mind. All power begins in the mind. So if you calling yourself an Indian, an African American, whatever you calling yourself, Black, okay, what is the mind power? Because what we call ourselves is not going to do anything for us. How we act, okay, is going to do it all for us. Be it political, economic, military, or scientific, because the body is just a framework and tool for the mind. Therefore, the prime power is mind power. The prime power is mind power. We can't have a lazy mind and come up. We can't have a subservient mind and come up. We can't have a mind that's willing to submit to the negativity for monetary gains. We can't use that and come up. Now, this information is information for those who think for their people, think for themselves, and think for their people. If you don't have no love for your people, this information is not for you. Okay, if you don't have no love for your people, you're a pawn on a chessboard being used. And we got to step up from being pawns. We got to step up from being pawns. We can't just be happy enough to be on a playing board, the chessboard. Okay? You know how they say it with your chest, right? The prime power is mind power, from which all other powers develop and mature, including the power of liberation. Nine ether develops nine reason develops nine knowledge, and nine knowledge develops nine mind power, which is prerequisite to Ethiopian mental and physical liberation. All right, that's the 9 news right there. So this information that they telling you, oh, we the original Indians, we the original people in America, and blah 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 blah, right? What are you original people doing? The culture, okay, of you original peoples of America. The culture, is that getting us to rise up in America so we can play the real game on the chessboard? What knowledge, scientific knowledge, information are the original so-called Black Indians in America coming with that is not connected to Africa? See, this is African mind power information right now, and I haven't seen any Black Indian information that's going to get us out of mental bondage, right? So let's play this video right here, okay? This is an AI generated video, and if you don't know, right? If you don't know, then you will take it to be the truth. But this is, like I said, AI is going to be able to go in the past and recreate shit be able to go in the past in the internet, right? All it's a gang of information in the internet now. But you got to think, day one of the internet that was released to the public, and year 2024, how much information has been stored in the internet? The information highway. How much information? So AI is going to be able to go back, right, and transform and transfigurate and transmutate this information, whereas the younger generations that's coming and the babies that are being born on this planet, right, they're going to take this information to possibly be true and not be able to go source, right? Dr. Malachi Z. York said some of this information you're not going to be able to check. Okay. What else can they do with the internet as far as information and history is concerned? Well, if a brain doesn't have history and experience, say a kid is out here 13 years old, that's only 13 years of mental experience, evidence, and reason and information gathering. Do you understand? But if they change, right, what happened 40 years ago, before this kid is born, they changed the information. Now we're not using books. The kid is only using Google now. Then how much history are they really going to know aside from what may be taught in schools? So now what's taught in schools doesn't have to be the total truth. It can just fit a specific race. That's assisting in keeping this race empowered. You understand what I'm saying? This non-information is not for one person to give to another person, right? It's really to be shared and memorized and spoken to each other. Okay? But let's go into this video. Hold on, let me set this up. Do it like this. Stop sharing that. All right. We're going to hit it right now.
Who are the ancestors of African Americans? Well, most African Americans believe that the majority of...
Now, listen, right? Listen. Now, listen. My bad, that was my mate. Now, listen. The same things he's saying, right? This came from Dane Calloway. Did Dane Calloway do this video? You understand? And call it the Black Archives under this channel. I don't know. But if AI can go back and grab things, then this is quite interesting, and the future is going to be interesting. Let's go.
Their DNA has roots in Africa, while the remaining has roots in Native American tribes in Europe. This is often backed by genetic studies that reveal that African Americans have 73.2% African DNA, 24% European DNA, and 0.8% Native American DNA. This makes everyone believe that they are majorly descendants of Black slaves. But what if we tell you that it's wrong? You have been intentionally told so.
Okay, so here it goes. So this intro might be real data, right? But for the sake of this video, it's going to go into the write-up of Dane Calloway, which is 98% of African Americans are indeed Native Indians and are owed millions. Okay, that's his write-up.
In fact, studies reveal that about 98% of African Americans have Native American roots. So,
98%.
Why were you lied to, and what do they want to hide? Let's find that out in this video.
The Black History Archives.
You would have never heard that tens of millions of native Black Americans, or rather Indians, used to live before Christopher Columbus came to America. However, immediately after 1492, all of them disappeared. But where did they all go? Well, many were shipped to Europe and Africa as Indian slaves. That's when we realized that the story we have been taught about the slave trade is actually backward. Instead of a massive influx of Africans to America, Black Indians were transported from America to Europe. From there, they were sent from Spain to Africa.
Now look at the Indians that they're using. Right? Look at the Indians that they are using. Okay? Or this AI generated video. Now keep listening to what's being said.
Africa as commodities in exchange for African resources. These Black Indians, now mistakenly identified as African Americans, were later shipped back to America and labeled as African slaves. This crucial part of our history is often neglected in school curriculums. Every European nation that colonized North America exploited Indian slaves for construction, plantations, and mining. These slaves were frequently sent to outposts in the Caribbean and Europe. Historical record.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave that right there. Okay, and once again, I'm gonna bring up this erroneous information that Dane Calloway wrote. I don't know why y'all not holding it to him. You know what I'm saying? Making them stand behind this and explain it. You know, but I understand how that go. I'm looking it up right now. Hold on. Here we go. Give me a moment. All right. So this is it right here. Okay. So when you go into it, all right, when you go into it, now this is what the AI generated video said. 98% of African Americans are Native Indians. Okay. But when you listen to the dialogue, all right, this sister's living right now. You know, he didn't get any he didn't ask her to use this picture. Okay, right there. All right, so let's go back to the video.
They all go. Well, many were shipped to Europe. Never heard that tens of millions of native Black Americans, or rather Indians, used to live before Christopher Columbus came to America. However, immediately after 1492, all of them disappeared. But where did they all go? Well, many were shipped to Europe and Africa as Indian slaves. That's when we realized that the story we have been taught about the slave trade is actually backward. Instead of a massive influx of Africans to America, Black Indians were transported from America to Europe.
The dialogue in the video is not exactly right, but it's pulling from Dane, this write-up right here, most definitely.
From there, they were sent from Spain to Africa as commodities in exchange for African resources. These Black Indians, now mistakenly identified as African Americans, were later shipped back to America and labeled as African slaves. This crucial part of our history is often neglected in school curriculums. Every European nation that colonized North America exploited Indian slaves for construction, plantations, and mining. These slaves were frequently sent to outposts in the Caribbean and Europe. Historical records.
Do you see? Okay. And then this is where it, he just starts losing the whole point of his write-up, because all of this is just made up information. You dig me? All of this is made up information. Okay. And it's with this information Dane Calloway came with his agenda to get people to follow his narrative. It's not a true narrative. The sister is living right now. I believe her name is Shonda Buchanan. And she identifies as a Black Indian. What is Black and Indian if it's not connected to Africa? Okay. How are you going to have Black Indians in America with no connection to Africa? How are you going to have any people on the planet, right, with no original connection to Africa? Okay. This is scientific. This is genetic. So in a sense, wouldn't one have to prove that people could be created on this planet without coming from one source? Okay. How would that look like in pregnancy, right? So instead of one egg and one sperm cell generating in the egg, you had multiple sperm cells generating in an egg. But I was see even in a pregnancy, it will still be coming from one source, because all of this is happening within one woman. So one woman cannot release multiple eggs for multiple births and carry multiple births. Okay. Multiple sperm cells cannot fertilize the egg. So you would have to prove, okay, and in doing so, you're in a sense going against everything scientific. How did any race of people who are not on the continent of Africa, how were they created or grown or generated on this planet? And not being older than the races of Africa, but don't come from Africa. Older than the race of Africa. All right, so this information right here is false information. All right. And you can go watch this video yourself, because this whole thing is Dane Calloway's write-up with some additions to it. Okay. With some additions to it. So that's Dane Calloway's write-up right there. And so do you people think that that's real? All right, let's play this. Let's play this last piece. And see what it says.
Presence and influence of Africans in ancient America. In his influential book, They Came Before Columbus, historian Ivan van Sertima explores various forms of evidence supporting the idea of an African presence in the New World long before Christopher Columbus's arrival. Van Sertima examines critical aspects to build his case. He looks into the sophisticated navigation and shipbuilding techniques that ancient Africans had, which could have enabled transatlantic voyages. He also draws cultural parallels between Native Americans and Africans, highlighting similarities in art, language, and religious practices that suggest historical connections. Van Sertima further investigates the transportation of plants, animals, and textiles between the continents, arguing that these exchanges indicate contact between Africa and the Americas. Additionally, he cites diaries, journals, and oral accounts of explorers referencing African peoples and their influence in the New World.
Okay, so that sounds like real scholarship right there. And I'm not seeing no real scholarship from any of these Abos claiming they don't have no connection to Africa. Right? See, what they got with the media is the propaganda. They got y'all thinking that Africa is really the worst place to be on this planet. When, right? Because this is how you know we under a spell. If all of Africa united under the banner of Africa, these countries would be shut down outside of Africa. They would have to use military weaponry, drop bombs, right? Because this is the only way that these countries are really, in a sense, existing. Because we have decided to allow ourselves to submit to servitude. And if it's bad, why are we doing it in the first place? And that's something that we need to address instead of just accepting some shit. All right. So 9 news in the beginning, right? Something to think about and reason out. And then this false information and allowing you to see how AI generated videos are going to change the scope of history, right? And we either going to be in right mind or we going to be in wrong mind. And right now, a lot of us, no matter what we think, we are in wrong mind because we are allowing ourselves to be subjected to servitude. We are allowing ourselves to be subjected and in service to adverse forces. Okay? We are allowing ourselves to connect with the beast and think that in doing so, I'm gonna come out righteous. We are the righteous people, and they are barbarians. Okay? This is not based on just a thought. This is based on historical research evidence from the sages of antiquity. GrandKuwsh. With this being said, I'm out. Y'all hold it down. If you watched the video this far, thanks for taking the time out to watch the video. Like and subscribe if you so choose to. But in any case, until the next video, y'all hold it down. Peace.